Welcome to Her Money Revolution. I'm your host, Angela Brooks, your guide on this journey to becoming a wealthy woman. As a certified financial planner, owner, and advisor at Family Capital Management, I'm on a mission to simplify the conversation around investing and to help women generate more wealth by making their money work for them. Join me as we navigate powerful financial planning strategies to help you achieve your personal and professional goals. This podcast is your go-to destination for no fluff, easy to implement financial and investing advice. If you are ready to achieve audacious financial goals, dream beyond boundaries, and generate massive wealth for you and your family, this podcast is for you. Grab a notebook. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Her Money Revolution, the podcast where we empower women to grow their wealth by making their money work for them. I'm your host, Angela Brooks, and today's episode is one that I think might completely change the way you think about wealth. Because somewhere along the way, we started confusing looking wealthy with actually being wealthy. They're not the same thing. In fact, some of the wealthiest people I've ever had the privilege to work with don't drive luxury cars, don't wear the designer bags and clothes. They don't upgrade everything the moment a newer version comes out. It's actually the flip side of that. I've met plenty of people who look incredibly successful on the outside, but underneath the surface, they're living paycheck to paycheck, or they're leveraged crazy, meaning they have crazy amount of debt. They drive fancy cars and they have a second mortgage on their home. Today's episode is called Found Money is Flashy, Earned Money is Quiet. And we're going to talk about why the people quietly building wealth often don't look wealthy at all. Let's start with this. If someone handed you $1 million today, what would you picture your life looking like? Maybe it's a beautiful home, a luxury SUV, the designer handbags, first-class vacations, the newest of everything the moment something new drops. That's what culture tells us wealth looks like. Social media certainly reinforces it. I've heard you can spend, I don't know how much money, but you can buy a private jet just for your Instagram. You know, you can buy time on a private jet to take a photo, like jetting off to New York for shopping, but not actually go anywhere. It's insane. I don't really know if that's even a thing, but I have heard it is. But here's something that I've learned after sitting across the table from hundreds of families over the last decade. Real wealth is surprisingly boring. It's quiet, it's patient, it's disciplined, and honestly, it doesn't make for very exciting Instagram posts. Found money, on the other hand, is flashy. Think about what happens when people unexpectedly receive money, an inheritance, a bonus, winning the lottery, a tax refund. Many people immediately start asking, oh my goodness, what can I buy? It's exciting. That's fine. It feels like it's going to change your life forever, and that's okay. But they start thinking so much about what can I buy, because found money often feels different than earned money. And that's because it is, right? Psychologists even have a name for this. It's called mental accounting. We mentally treat different dollars differently, even though every dollar spends exactly the same way. I feel like that's really awesome. The bonus feels like fun money. The inheritance feels like extra money. The tax refund feels like free money. But here's the truth. Money doesn't know where it came from. The dollars don't care if they were earned through hard work, received as a gift, found unexpectedly, or an inheritance. Every dollar has the same opportunity. It can either buy something today or create options for tomorrow. Earned money is quiet. The families who quietly become wealthy usually don't experience one giant financial breakthrough. Instead, they make thousands of ordinary decisions. They save automatically. They increase retirement contributions every year. They invest consistently. They avoid unnecessary debt. They live well below their means. None of those decisions feel exciting, but together they're incredibly powerful. I could sum it up with just that. Get comfortable being boring, but I won't. The wealthiest people around you may not look wealthy at all. I've seen this countless times. One client drove this exact same pickup truck for nearly 20 plus years, but had millions in his investment account. He could have easily bought multiple vehicles, but he was content. Another couple lived in the same modest home long after they could afford something much larger. One woman still clipped coupons. It was just a habit or a behavior that she didn't want to give up, right? Not because she had to, but she enjoyed being intentional. Could they have upgraded? Yes, absolutely. They simply chose not to, because every dollar they didn't spend bought them something even more valuable. And that's freedom. We've all heard the saying, the things we own end up owning you. Kind of leads me into the next one. It's the lifestyle creep. One of the biggest enemies of wealth has a name: lifestyle creep. It happens quietly. You receive a raise, you upgrade the car, you move into the bigger house, your streaming subscriptions multiply, vacations become more expensive, dinner out becomes normal instead of special. Nothing feels extra until suddenly you're making twice as much money, but somehow saving the same amount, maybe even less. You used to go to the grocery store and you were comfortable buying the $10 steak, and now you need to buy the $99 steak. The problem isn't making more money. I hope you make more money. I want to make more money. The problem is believing every increase in income deserves an equal increase in spending. But here's what we don't talk about. I said it earlier. The things you own end up owning you. And isn't that so true? The bigger the house, the more there is to clean and maintain and insure and furnish and heat and cool and repair. My husband and I talk about, if we would ever buy a new home or add on to this one. And I'm like, it's just one more thing to clean. I don't know. I don't have a desire to do that. No, thank you. Or the newer car, the bigger payment, the higher insurance, the more pressure that you feel to keep earning enough to afford it. The vacation home, the boat, the designer wardrobe, the latest phone, they all come with invisible price tags that go far beyond the purchase price. They require your time, they require your attention and your energy, and sometimes even your freedom. And we often think that we're buying possessions, but many times we're buying obligations. That's one of the reasons the quietly wealthy are so intentional. They don't ask, can I afford to buy this? They ask, what will this cost me over the next 10 years? Not just financially, but emotionally. And in terms of my freedom, because every possession has a carrying cost. And sometimes the wealthiest decisions isn't buying more, it's needing less. And I'd say that should be the way it is. When you need less to be happy, you gain something money can't buy. To name a few things like margin, peace, freedom. And that's what real wealth is all about. That is how to live a rich life. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying don't buy the boat. I have a boat. I'm not saying don't build the dream house. John and I are living in our dream house. And we recently purchased a rental property up north. Those are two of the the boat, our rental property, our dream home. These are some of the biggest purchases that we have ever made. But before we make a major purchase like that, we ask ourselves a few questions that have become part of my family's decision-making process. And that first question is this going to bring our family together or pull us apart? That might sound like an odd financial question, but I actually think that it's one of the most important ones. One of the last things that I want is what I would call the divide and conquer lifestyle. I don't want John and the boys spending every weekend at the boat while Noriella and I are back at home because she has a softball tournament, for example. I don't want our possessions dictating our schedule or dividing our family into different directions. If Nori has a game, we all go to the game. If we're spending the weekend on the boat, we're all on the boat, the best that we can, right? The goal isn't to own things. The goal is to create experiences that bring us together. The second question that we ask is this purchase going to create financial stress? Not today, but every month after we buy it. Because almost every big purchase comes with ongoing costs, right? Insurance, maintenance, repairs, taxes, storage, utilities, gas for our boat, and it all adds up. If buying something means you have to stop maxing out your retirement accounts or stop contributing to our kids' 529 plans, or we have to cut back on our giving or lose sleep because our monthly expenses are stretched too thin, then it's probably not something that we want to own. Because at that point, we don't own it. It owns us. Take a rental property, for example. We're absolutely going to love it. We're going to enjoy it. We absolutely love skiing. I know that we'll make incredible family memories there. But we also purchased it with a clear financial purpose. Our goal is for it to operate as a true short-term rental and become another stream of income over time. And here's the important part. We're not relying on that rental income to make the monthly payment. If there is a slow season, if bookings are low and we don't have rental in and it's not making as much as expected, if the furnace breaks or our family's financial plan is still going to work, right? I'm not relying on that rental income to pay that mortgage. And that gives us flexibility. It gives us margin. And perhaps what I think is most importantly, it lets us enjoy the property instead of worrying about it, because that's what intentional spending is really about. It's not asking, can I buy this? It's asking, will owning this make my life richer or simply more expensive? Which brings me to one of my favorite tools and that we use with clients, and it's what I call, you've heard me say it before, the value spending plan. Notice I didn't call it a budget because budgets feel restrictive and gross. A value spending plan asks a completely different question. Does the way I spend my money reflect what I actually value? Because here's the reality. Every dollar you spend is casting a vote. You're voting for the kind of life that you want. Maybe you value family experiences, so then you travel. Maybe you value giving generously, or retiring early, or starting a business, helping your children graduate debt-free. Those are all wonderful goals. But here's the hard part. Every yes to one thing is also a no to something else, right? So we have to choose intentionally. The quietly wealthy make decisions with numbers. One thing that I've noticed about financially successful families is that they don't make major decisions emotionally. They're very logical. They create space between wanting something and buying it. So instead they pause. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month. Sometimes it's even longer. You have a client, we have talked about them purchasing a home in Tennessee for a couple of years. And it was probably a goal longer, before they even really communicated it to me. But we built it out in their financial plan. I knew it was coming eventually. I didn't know when, but eventually. And maybe about a year ago, they said, okay, it's getting closer. We're shopping. We're looking around. We're looking for the best place. That was probably when they started becoming very intentional and actually shopping a year in advance. And they're closing next month. And I'm so excited for them. But they let that excitement wear off before they make the decision. They really think it through. This couple that I'm talking about, they were possibly going to build a home, or maybe they were going to buy a home. They didn't know for sure. They didn't let their emotions, they didn't go to Tennessee and find a home and fall in love with it and buy it right away. They thought about it for years. And they ask questions. Is this what's best for us? They ask questions. They don't ask, can we make the payment? They ask, how does this fit into our overall financial plan? Will we still be able to max out our retirement accounts every year? Will we continue funding the kids' 529 plans? Will we still be able to give generously? Will this delay retirement? How many extra years will I need to work because of this financial decision today? That's a very different conversation than just, hey, I can make the payment every month. They don't let excitement make financial decisions. They let math make financial decisions. So to give you another real life example, imagine you're buying a $75,000 SUV. Most people ask, what's the monthly payment? The quietly wealthy ask, if we invested that difference instead, what could it become over the next 20 years? Or maybe they're considering remodeling their kitchen. Instead of saying, everyone else on our street has updated theirs, they ask, will this improve our family's life enough to justify delaying another financial goal? I want to remodel my kitchen because I want to be able to host my family more often. Yes, that aligns with your values. Sounds like a good plan. Notice what they're doing. They're comparing one opportunity against another because every dollar has a job. Every yes means saying no to something else. Here's another habit that I've observed. They don't celebrate raises by increasing their lifestyle. The quietly wealthy celebrate raises by increasing their investments. When they get a 5% raise, they immediately increase their 401k contributions by, let's say, 2%. They increase automatic investments right away, or they pay off debt faster. Then they enjoy what's left. Most people reverse that process. They spend first and save whatever happens to be left over. It's opposite, guys. The quietly wealthy save first, then they spend what's left. And over 20, 30 years, that one simple habit creates millions of dollars. There's one word that quietly destroys wealth. I'd say it's the most expensive word. Maybe you already know where I'm headed with this. I'd be curious. If you know what I'm about to say, it might be in my emails. I might have put it in my emails, but I'm curious to hear you. If you know where I'm headed with this, send me a DM. But the most expensive word is deserve. I deserve this. I work hard. I've earned it. I deserve to have this. And that goes with dieting too. I've been good all week, so I deserve an ice cream. Okay, maybe, but here's another question. What does your future self deserve? Maybe your future self deserves financial peace, or the ability to retire when you want, the ability to help your grandchildren someday, the ability to sleep well during market downturns because you've built margin into your life. Sometimes saying not now is actually saying yes to something much bigger later in life. I don't let even my kids say, I deserve this. No, work hard, play hard. Comparison is expensive. That's another thing that will just eat you alive. Comparison is expensive. It's one of the fastest ways to sabotage your finances, and it's by comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. It's sickening. You don't need to do it because what you don't know is how much debt they have, whether they're financing everything, whether they're saving anything, whether it's even real or not. I told you earlier, like that Instagram, you can pay an hourly rate to go sit on somebody's private jet and pretend to be something that you're not, right? So how do we know? Why are we comparing ourselves? We don't know whether that person on the other end of their phone or their social media is stressed every single month trying to make payments. You only see the vacation. You only see the handbag. Maybe it's not even a real one. You only see the new kitchen and the shiny car. And it's beautiful and lovely and it's great. I'm here for it. I have nice things and I love to dream. But when you lose time comparing, when you lose motivation comparing, when you set your standards so high, like I want one because all my friends do, man, don't compare your life to someone else's edited version. I could go on with that one, but I'll stop. Quiet wealth buys something better. People often think money buys stuff, and it sure does. I buy stuff. It's okay. It's not horrible to have stuff. But the greatest thing that wealth buys is options. The option to leave a toxic job. The option to care for aging parents. To take time off when your child needs you. Or to be even available emotionally for your family. It gives you the option to weather a recession without panic, to give generously, to retire with confidence. Those things don't always show up in photographs on Instagram Reels, but they are priceless. So here's my final thought. If there's one thing that I hope that you take away from today's episode, it's this. Wealth isn't something that you wear. It's something that you build quietly, patiently, one intentional decision at a time. The people who build lasting wealth aren't necessarily the highest earners. They're often the people who consistently choose purpose over pressure, contentment over comparison, and a long-term freedom over short-term appearances. Because in the end, found money is flashy, but earned money is quiet. And that quiet discipline has the power to change your life. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If this episode encouraged you, would you do me a favor, share it with a friend, a sister, or someone who could use the reminder that true wealth isn't about looking rich. It's about living a life of freedom and purpose. Until next time, remember your money should reflect your values and your goals and the life that God has called you to live. I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you are feeling more empowered in your financial journey. Remember, follow and subscribe to Her Money Revolution on your favorite podcast platform, and share your feedback by leaving a review. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway from today's episode. Until next time, stay inspired.